What you're seeing there on the screen is the devastation that's going on in Hawaii right now. It's massively, massively devastating. We're almost up to 100 people the last time I checked that have passed away in this horrible emergency that's going down in Hawaii. Uh, I don't know how many of you guys are up to date on this, but we are still waiting for our president to make any kind of a serious comment at this time. Last I checked, he was refusing comment to reporters that were coming up to him as he was exiting the White House. In this situation, I think it demands a little bit of attention to everything that's going on. My name is Drew Smith, and this is We Talk Freely. This is a new show that I've created along with the Local Spin and Green Table Gaming to express the average, everyday, every person kind of view. A little bit about me. I'm a retail guy, blue collar guy, worked in many industries. Not some kind of political professional, not some kind of educator, not somebody that's like super special or anything of that. Just an average, everyday person that's really concerned about the chaos that's going on in this world. To see our president not say anything about this, not do anything about this, has been a huge inspiration for me to make sure that we get an episode out today and we do something to talk about it, talk freely about it, and appreciate our First Amendment right to talk openly about it as well. I hope talking about this doesn't get me canceled off of any platforms, but if being honest about the things that are going on does, I'll wear that as a badge of honor, and I'm sure the people at the Local Spin, and of course myself here at Green Table Gaming, will be proud of whatever the outcome is. We don't aim to divide people here, we aim to unite them. We aim to bring honesty to the stage. And so there's a lot of things that I want to talk about today. A lot of videos, a lot of different things, and I'm going to bring them here to you. This is chaos, and I appreciate Fox Weather for doing this drone footage here, showing the fires and everything that are going on. In my feed, I've seen people that literally had to take refuge in the ocean. I can only imagine how insane that would be, considering it's not like their air quality is getting filtered either. This had to be painful all the way through. And from what I'm hearing as well in my newsfeed, there's over 1,000 people that are still unaccounted for. Now I heard that Oprah and quite a few other people have been trying to get in there to do follow-up reports and maybe even give aid, which, you know, I give kudos to that. You know, we need to get more footage on what's going on. We need to get more help to the people that are down there. But wildly, you know, one of the first things I heard today was that that Joe Biden was refusing comment. Pardon all the advertising that has popped up here in the background, but our headline here from Daily Mail: Biden is slammed for refusing to comment on rising death toll in Hawaii after spending 2 hours on the beach in Delaware. Yeah, I mean, we listened to for years back during the Trump administration, news outlet after news outlet after news outlet slamming Donald Trump for playing golf and taking a lot of vacation time during his term. I'm looking at this and it's, how do you sit on a beach knowing that there's a direct emergency like this happening right then and there? Like, how do you relax? How do you enjoy yourself in that situation? I couldn't imagine being in that position and seeing and doing that, just taking that time off. I think this is when a president should be doing their job the most. The American people need you. You can't just sit to the wayside and phone it in, I guess you could say. Um, so a lot of people, I've been talking to today, they've been asking me, why? What do you think this is? Now, when you Google it up, you're going to see a lot of articles about space lasers and all kinds of little different conspiracy theories. But I actually think the Washington Post is doing a decent report here. And I think the main issue is really a combination of weather and the power companies not going to a more extreme measure of cutting the power. I know that is dangerous for a lot of people, though, and that's one thing that a lot of people don't talk about that are reporting in unison with this about the electrical fires being the issue. From what I'm understanding, there's hurricane force winds that are ripping through the area, and so any kind of sparks or anything like that are going to carry really far. And any fire that starts is also going to produce a lot more sparks as well. And so it's just spark catastrophe after another, and it's just monopolized at an alarming rate. So I could understand, looking at the situation, you're stuck between a rock and a hard place as a power company. You cut the power, and you have a lot of elderly people that are very dependent on that power to keep the ACs running. Keep their medicines cool. Like, you think about diabetics, they have to keep their insulin like practically, well, not frozen, but you have to keep it cold in the refrigerator the whole time, so I know that they were looking out for the safety of a lot of people, but at the same time, when fires started popping up or the risk of massive fire, probably should have cut it off. But, it's hindsight. We can all say that. I don't know what was going on with the power company. I don't know what was going on the ground at the time. Everything that I'm talking about right now is speculation. The only thing that I can do is pray for the best and hope we don't see that death toll from, I think it's 96 or 97 people. I pray that we won't see it go over 100. Hopefully we will see here really soon really easy and direct ways to help these people. Get them into some shelters, get them food and everything that they may be missing right now. Sure, like I said earlier about people with medical issues, I hope we also see ways to contribute and get them help as well too. But the one thing that is really concerning is that we're already starting to see reports, and I think I lost that report off of my list here, but I'm already starting to see reports of crime, looting, like in a burned down area like this, where aid hasn't even gotten there yet. And we're already seeing people coming in and looting what's left of the place. Now, if it's looting for food, that's cool. I got no problem with that. I get it. You're in an emergency situation. You go into that burned down half a store, get your food, get out kind of a thing. I personally can look the other way. But I swear, if we start to see videos of people carrying TVs and computers and cell phones and stuff like that out of stores, I've got no love for that. I've got no respect for that. That's not going to help you survive. Maybe the cell phone? Doubt it. Doubt that that's what's going on. So my heart goes out to those people, and I hope across all party lines we see that as well. As soon as I see ways to donate, to contribute, to help out in any way, I'll definitely be posting stuff up on this page, on this recording, so we can get stuff to them. I hope people there in Hawaii exercise as much common sense as possible. And it's going to be interesting to see the backlash of all of this. And it's going to be very interesting to hear Joe Biden himself explain why his response to this whole thing was so delayed and why he thought it was a good time to go hang out on the beach. You know, the people in Hawaii that were hanging out on the beach weren't there because they wanted to be. But our president, our leader, was on a beach in Delaware, making sure to get his tan right so he looks good for when he eventually does do an interview. It's a tough one. I have a lot of things that I wanted to talk to you guys about. One thing I gotta say, and I love old Charlie Kirk, but to other people when you're reporting, you gotta give some backstory. I was going through my feed today. Gosh, I hope everyone's okay in this. Can somebody please give me a backstory on what happened here? I see down in the comments people are like, it's like a meth house or something like that. I never want to just automatically assume that that's what's going on. This looks like a really decent neighborhood, but hey, I mean, those things can happen anywhere. Maybe it's a, gas line explosion or something of that nature. Who knows? I just pray that everyone was out of that house and that everyone is okay. Sorry to just throw that, but I want to change it up because we've got some really serious things that are happening in the news right now. Here in Georgia, things are getting really heated up for Donald Trump. And they're getting very, very, very wild. Very desperate, it seems like. I missed that. There was my missing tab. These charges going against Donald Trump for racketeering, as publicized here in the Washington Times, that's a heck of a claim. Regardless of who it was, it could have been Obama, it could have been Biden, but to accuse this man of racketeering kind of makes me shake my head in my own state. I'm here in Georgia, and I see what's going on up there in Atlanta. This is personal. This isn't justice. This isn't doing the right thing to make sure that the bad guy goes to the proper bad guy or criminal or whatever it is goes to jail. This is a personal vendetta against a political party. This is nonsense in my book. There's no true, real evidence. And some of the things that really concern me in this whole thing, and I'm going to steal a couple of these tabs back, is that they say that they have messages and things of that nature proving that Donald Trump was trying to coerce this election. Suddenly, we see the press go full bore on election claims. When we watch for the past 2.5 years, the press say that this was the cleanest and clearest election of all times. There was no meddling, there was no coercion or anything of that nature. But now, suddenly, Trump could be guilty of it. That bothers me. Why don't we see the same energy for the previous charges coming from conservatives that we now see when the same style charges are coming from Democrats? That doesn't make sense to me. CNN wants to say they're fair and balanced, or at least they used to. I don't know if they still do anymore. Whenever I pull it up, I don't really see that messaging anymore. But if we're going to put stories out like that, then we need to go back. We got to go all the way back. Because our timelines, our feeds were flooded with video after video after video of unexplained, suitcases and people standing outside of mail mail-in drop boxes and just a lot of weird stuff that we never got answers to. You know, here in the state of Georgia and many states across the United States, these cases were brought before judges who didn't try the cases. Instead, they just said that they wouldn't hear these cases. They didn't want to try them. They didn't want to waste their time on these cases. But now we look at what's going on up there in Fulton County, and they're going full bore against Trump. No, there's way more circumstantial evidence, or way more just things that we've seen out in the open against many other states, other polling or voting places. And we're not going to talk about any of that, but we're going to talk about text messages and about Trump digging into whether things were legitimate. Now, I don't know about you, but personally, I don't mind every election being questioned. I want to make sure that every single vote, whether you're voting for Democrat, Libertarian, Republican, it doesn't matter to me. I want to make sure that every single vote that's cast is legitimate. Because if we don't have legitimacy 100% from end to end in our elections, what it's going to do is it's going to turn off more and more people from participating. Now, we saw some amazing numbers in the last few elections. You know, I think with President Obama, we hit like record numbers of people voting. But where are we at now? You know, for weeks and months, even years before the election, I heard people saying over and over and over again, my vote doesn't matter. I'm going to lose anyway. And that's not what this country is about. Every vote really does matter. Every vote is crucial. I don't care if you're voting against me or with me. It matters. Your voice matters. If I can't hear your voice and you can't hear my voice, well, you get what we have today. We have multiple factions of people out there not listening to one bit of evidence that's being brought forward. And it hurts us all. Look at what's happened. Look at our gas prices. Look at inflation. Look at the housing market. Look at education. Everything is hurting right now because everybody's being distracted by a lot of chaotic crazy. If we could come to an agreement on how to solidify these voting systems, then we could get a lot more stuff done. A lot more stuff done. The thing that really bothers me on top of all of this with Trump's crazy charges that are going on, CNN is reporting this as some kind of massive breach. That's what they put in their headline. This bothers me because this isn't quite honest journalism here. It gets a little bit more honest as you get down into the article. Here lower in the story, it talks about how when Trump's team started investigating things, it wasn't really a breach because their legal team was invited to take a look at the results. I think as an American, I think most Americans want that kind of an attitude. Hey, you think it's fraudulent? Come check it out for yourself. It's legit. Come see for yourself the legitimacy of everything that we're doing. Try me. That's what I want to see. I want to see people so confident in their honesty that they don't mind you coming back and checking 10 more times behind that. I know as a voter, that would make me feel great when I go to that voting booth and I stand there in that little cubicle thing. I know that my vote's going to be counted and that it will count. Even if I lose, I won't feel so bad. I won't be so confused or ticked off. You know, for the past 2.5 years, I've been confused. How about you? CNN calling it a breach It's probably one of the wildest things I've seen in a while, not all together. You know, we're talking about phony charges and false statements and things like that. I look here at Zachary Cohen and Sarah Murray over there at CNN putting out this report, literally calling it a voting system breach. I thought it was the cleanest and clearest election of all time. Now we have a breach. So all of those independents and libertarians and Republicans and conservatives and everybody else who was saying, hey, there might be something weird going on, suddenly now they're vindicated by this article from CNN. There was a breach here, right, CNN? Right, Mr. Cohen? Right, Mrs. Murray? It's wild to me that we're suddenly going back. Kind of like the FDA recently with certain medications for certain conditions. We'll go into that in another episode. Another thing that bothers me in this is here in the state of Georgia, Reuters caught something. The charges that were going against Trump were prematurely posted. There's still investigations going on. There's still stuff that needs to be heard. How are they putting this stuff up? Not Reuters. I need to duplicate my articles, don't I? Kind of hard for me to read. Do that real quick. Behave. Georgia court website briefly publishes, removes document about potential Trump charges. According to Reuters, Fulton County, Georgia court website briefly posted a document on Monday listing several criminal charges against former U.S. President Donald Trump that appeared related to his attempts to overturn the 2020 election. Huh. That's kind of weird to me. I'm not a stranger to the legal system here in Georgia. I know how they operate. Everything is a wait and see around here for anything else that happens, whether it's a criminal charge or a civil lawsuit or anything of that nature. Nothing moves that fast to where stuff comes out prematurely. Seems very weird to me. Almost orchestrated. But I don't want to be a tinfoil hat conspiracy theorist on this whole thing. But it seems very weird. The Fulton County District Attorney's Office said in a statement that no charges had been filed against Trump yet. The document was dated August 14th, today, and named Trump, citing the case as open, but is no longer available on the court's website. Reuters was not immediately able to determine why the item was posted or removed. What's going on here? What is really happening? It seems like there's some extreme biases. Rushing to get an indictment, to get criminal charges pressed and convicted against Trump. I thought Lady Justice was supposed to be blind. No biases. Everyone gets a fair shot. We see my own state courts going full bore on these, I guess what at the moment could still be considered a conspiracy theory. We see them going full bore on that. But what about all the other evidence and all the other cases that were brought up before this that still have yet to be heard? I want those cases heard before you go after Trump. Because if there is actual foul play at hand here, then none of this is even necessary. The foul play will churn up the evidence that Donald Trump himself was seeing, his legal team was seeing. Whether you like him or not, if there was something that was going on, we need to find it out. Trust me, if Joe Biden, Hillary Clinton saying the same things, I say, hey, investigate it. And in fact, Hillary Clinton was going in over and over and over again, making some of these same claims that Donald Trump, or very similar claims that Donald Trump is making. And I even said back then to my friends, to my family, to everyone around me, let the investigation happen. If you think there is some kind of interference, let's find out. I want to know. Because if I'm voting for somebody who's cheating their way through an election, I really need to know that. I'm probably going to change my vote. It's not right. None of it's adding up properly. And I don't like where it's going. Not one bit. So the next part of all this brings me to some things that Governor Brian Kemp was talking about. Brian Kemp has been on CNN recently talking to people. I'll bring that up as well. I hope these news agencies don't get mad at me, but Brian Kemp, in this CNN politics interview, which you guys can find, I'm not going to play the whole thing out on here because it could cause some problems. But in this interview, he says that Trump supporters of Georgia are living in the past, and that we don't need to be talking about the previous election so much, and that we need to move on. Then, he later goes on to say that if Trump is nominated in the primary, that he'll support Donald Trump. Which, well, I guess I can give you a little respect, Governor Kemp, for that. But leading up to it, I think you're ignoring a huge portion of even your own voting base. We're not living in the past. We're still waiting on results. He says that people aren't really concerned about, or at least he makes it out to be, that people aren't concerned about the 2020 election. But when I talk to a lot of people in his base, pretty much everyone wants to know what really happened. When we saw the pipes breaking at, 4 in the morning, and people weren't able to count, or I forget what time the pipes broke. Let me scratch that. But I know that people had to stop counting votes because of some kind of plumbing issue. And then later it came out that the pipes didn't break. But then we saw at something like 4 in the morning, all of a sudden these giant vote drops. Doesn't seem right. Seems wild. I went to bed that night thinking, well, looks like Trump got it. Not by giant margins, but it looked like Trump got it. All the votes were supposed to be over. I was watching CNN, I was watching Fox, I was watching MSNBC, I was watching all these news organizations. I got multiple screens here on my setup. And I literally had a couple of each news organization on each screen, watching every single one of them. And I didn't go to bed until they all sang in unison, looks like Trump won the election. I woke up the next morning, and all of a sudden, Biden's in the lead. What? Everyone threw in the towel. Everyone was ready to call it. It was obvious. The guy that was hosting massive rallies with massive turnouts, getting overwhelming support, he made it. At least that's what we all believed. So, Governor Kemp saying that people aren't concerned about that is way off base. I've heard that our governor is trying to kind of create a newish Republican Party, a new following separate from, I guess, separate from the MAGA supporters. And I went to, a friend of mine sent me the site, and I still got to verify it before I throw it up, but I'm seeing stuff about wine tasting and things like that. I mean, they're cool and all, but it just feels like, with the stuff that he's talking about in his site, it seems very disconnected with most of the people that are voting on the conservative side. Probably disconnected with all the parties. Seems to be at a whole nother tier than the rest of us Americans. A tier that I have very little understanding of myself. Don't like wine. Although I wish I could be at that level. I might like it more. But again, like I said, he seems very disconnected. And he seems very disconnected for a long time, and his confidence really comes from his defeat of Stacey Abrams. And I don't think he really defeated Stacey Abrams personally. I think Stacey Abrams defeated herself. Some of the things that she did in the last few weeks, some of the CNN town hall she did talking about abortion and a few of the other issues that she applied herself to just didn't seem to work out very well with her base. There's some people that, of course, said vote blue no matter who. I remember everyone chanting that at the time because they wanted to they wanted to prevent Trump from taking office, and they wanted to prevent Republicans from gaining power. But I watched as Stacey kept working and talking to the people, and she kept losing little notches, a little bit more and more and more as she went along. And in fact, one of the articles that I shared across Facebook and Twitter and a few other social medias were despised so much by those medias that I ended up getting my account shut down for the words that Stacey Abrams herself said on, CNN. Found that very confusing to me that these media organizations were running so much cover for her. Why? It's because Stacey Abrams was defeating herself. Brian Kemp wasn't winning. Stacey Abrams was crashing. So Brian Kemp seems very confident in himself and what he's doing, and I think it's a very blind confidence. I don't think he understands what the average middle class and I guess lower class person like myself, I don't think he understands where we're coming from. We want an honest playing field here. The 2020 election is very important to us. And to some people that I've talked to recently, even the 2016 election has some questions that people would like answered. Like I said, even Hillary was claiming that there was election interference. And what happened to the whole Russia story in 2020, or leading up to 2020? I specifically remember Adam Schiff being very adamant, saying that he had evidence of Russian collusion. Well, if there was Russian collusion, where's the conviction? What happened? At the end of it, we saw Adam Schiff himself getting censored. Nothing really came of that. And these media organizations like CNN aren't reporting that very much. They're not drilling it into people's heads at the same level that they were promoting that collusion. Where's Rachel Maddow screaming from the top of her lungs going, I was wrong? I don't see it. It's not there. The same passion for telling the truth about these issues is not there when the truth goes against their narrative. That hurts everyone. You, me, them, everyone gets harmed in this. I get it. It sucks when you get egg on your face. It sucks when you have to go back on something that you just knew in the back of your mind was true. It really does. But integrity's on the line here. And now we've got a massive division. People who just want to hear the things that they want to hear and then the people who are looking for the facts. And the people who are finding facts, like true facts, aren't able to communicate with the other side. Vice versa, the same. And that's really tearing our country apart. I don't know how our elections get better from here. I don't know how people get along from here. When you have such a polarized system happening, one can only think about what happened during the Civil War. How polarized were those people? I wish we had the ability to like cryo-freeze somebody like an Encino Man or something, just put them in ice and then wake them up and just ask them, yo, what was it like back then? We don't have that ability. Instead, we've got assumptions from people's writings and poetry and songs. We don't actually know exactly how people felt back then. But I imagine it would feel something like what we feel like today. This is rough. I'm watching families get ripped apart. And I did read that back in high school. I forget what book it was that we were going through, but that was something that struck me to my core when we were talking about the Civil War in school. And they said that moms and sons split from each other. Brother versus brother pointing rifles at each other. I couldn't imagine. Couldn't imagine until now. Now I see it. I see it all around me. Within my family and my friends' families, co-workers, neighbors. Everyone is in the middle of a division. And this guy, Brian Kemp, he doesn't understand that. As he sits there surrounded by people that are all at his financial level or his political level, whatever you want to call it, but he's surrounded by people who just talk like he does. And so he assumes that everyone should be thinking that direction, and if they're not thinking like the people around him in his circle, then they are all on the left. I actually got a chance to talk to Purdue in this election, and he was just as disconnected. I'll never forget, I had said a couple things to him, not in anger or any kind of division, but I brought up a couple points from the local and national news that I really wanted to know. And he just looked at me so confused, like he hadn't heard any of the information that I put forward to him. I'm pretty sure if I asked Kemp some of the same questions that I did, he would look at me just as confused too. And here we are. Country full of people who are just angry and divided, not knowing the ins and outs of everything that's going on. Me, myself, I'm confident enough to make this video and put it out there for everyone to discuss, but I still don't know anything that's going on. Our courts haven't made judgments on this stuff. They haven't put the nail in the coffin. So we don't know. What are we supposed to do, CNN, MSNBC, Fox, all these news organizations that have just moved on? Are we just supposed to forget about every question that we have? Are we just supposed to move around like some kind of zombie NPC and wait for the next thing to be told to us to follow blindly into who knows what? Not me. Not a lot of people that I see around me. I don't think that's what people are voting for. And I think that's why people are so passionate about Donald Trump. They're tired of the same old stuff. They're tired of being told what to think. They're tired of being told what to feel. And here you have our governor, who's supposed to be a representative of the people. He's disconnecting himself from the people he's supposed to represent. It makes no sense. Creating new parties or whatever it is that he's doing, I think in reality he's just ending his political career. And goodness, I don't even understand why. It makes no sense to me. Let's see here. What else do we have to go with? A couple of things that I wanted to talk about. I mean, if you guys are on Truth Social, Trump is out there being very bombastic, as he's known to be. Let's see if I can get my computer to behave. Well, I cannot get my computer to behave. He's on Truth Social, and he could be quoted to say, "Would someone please tell the Fulton County grand jury that I did not tamper with the election? The people that tampered with it were the ones that rigged it. And sadly, phony Fani Willis, who has shockingly allowed Atlanta to become one of the most dangerous cities anywhere in the world, has no interest in seeing the massive amount of evidence available or finding out who these people that committed this crime are. She only wants to get Trump. I would be happy to show all this to the grand jury." Now that's an interesting point that he brings up. People who are telling the truth rarely ever have a problem showing the proof. I find it very interesting that I'm starting to see a lot of reports that the January 6th committee that was put together against Donald Trump destroyed the evidence that they collected. There was a lot of evidence there. A lot. Security footage, testimonies, cell phone, GPS tracking. A lot of stuff was put together, and people are sitting in jail to this day for it. I get it. Some people vandalized property. Some people did some rude things, and punishments should definitely be issued out. But we've seen people of other political persuasions run up into other Capitol buildings, create all kinds of riots and destruction and things like that, and many of them didn't see any time. And many, if not all. This is wild. Why are they destroying evidence? We saw this with Hillary in the BleachBit scandal, destroying, like taking hammers to cell phones and things of that nature. Why are we destroying any evidence? This is supposed to be for record. The United States is the great experiment. And if you're destroying evidence or any information of an experiment, the experiment is then corrupted, regardless of political view. You have to look at it from a scientific approach. If you destroy the recordings of information, there's valuable information in there that has a huge impact on the future. There's things that are being destroyed today that may have bearings on conversations 500 years from now. God willing that this country is still standing, or any country. People are going to want to study the result of everything that happens here. Either today, tomorrow, or way in the future. We need this information to still exist. Where does Hillary get off destroying all that data? And where does this January 6th committee get off destroying all that data? Doesn't seem good. It seems like something corrupt is happening. Something very dark. Something very sinister. Republicans are out here trying to play it as honest as possible. I don't believe any political party right now is being 100% truthful. But then again, I also grew up knowing that politicians were not very honest all the time. They'd be honest when they wanted to be, but not completely honest 100%. I think that's a flaw that we have as humans, not just as politicians. But we need this information to balance that out. We need to be able to hold people accountable for their mistakes, whether we're punishing them or not. We at least need to know the truth. You know, I'm a dad, and when my daughter makes a mistake, I tell her to come to me with the mistake immediately, regardless if she knows she's in the wrong or not. I say, if you help me clean it up and you help me restore peace to the situation, then I'm not going to be mad. You drop a plate and it shatters into pieces, you come get me. We clean it up. We get a new plate. At that point, it's no harm, no foul. But if she takes that plate and all the little bits and shards and sweeps them around everywhere and tries to hide them, well, one day I'm going to go to reach under the cabinet and I'm going to catch a bloody finger. That's not good. Not good at all. It's causing harm. All this destroying of evidence in this political system is the same thing. You collected a bunch of evidence there and then you smash it into pieces. For the January 6th committee, and even for Hillary, I guarantee you those shards are going to come back to haunt you. Not like a threat or anything, but it's just how things work in life. You know, when a child lies, when an adult lies, normally those lies come back and bite you in the butt. It's best to just take whatever consequences are there immediately. Get it out of the way. Because even when you're in the wrong, whenever you've made a mistake, when you stand up and own that mistake, people respect you a lot more. I've seen lots of politicians and movie stars and you name it. A lot of people have done that. And they've been able to rebuild their careers and grow up bigger. I mean, I remember when Trump used to call Ted Cruz, the old lion Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz kind of owned up on things, and he kept pushing forward, and he kept working hard. A lot more people respect him now. A lot more people like him now. He's been able to grow from that and kind of create a new career. But these people who just try to walk past their mistakes, people don't forget. That's about all I got. Some things to think about. It's the first episode of We Talk Freely. And I hope you'll tune in the future. I'm going to work on some things to try to polish them out a little bit better. You know, maybe I just won't be this small screen in the corner the whole time from now on. If you look here below my head, you see there's a grayed out box. And what we're planning on doing is getting a live Discord up there. And I'm trying to figure out how to combine all the different chats and things from all the different platforms that we're going to be on. For now, I think what we're going to be doing is it's probably going to go up on YouTube, and we'll see about getting on Rumble and a few other places too. I'd like in the near future definitely be on Twitch, on Kick, and a handful of other platforms I'm just not thinking of right here at the moment. But I want to get a conversation going with people, and I want it to be a non-aggressive conversation. I want people to just sit down and think about these situations that are happening in politics and in gaming and sports and all kinds of walks of life. Wherever it is that there's conflict, I want to be able to just sit down with people and have real discussions. Because you'd be amazed how many times I've been able to sit down with folks at the bar or just around town who adamantly disagree with my politics, but we can have so many great conversations where we agree on so many things. You know, you may not agree with everything that is said in today's episode, and I'm cool with that, but I hope that you'll come back and that you'll check out the local spin there. They're working on some great things. They've got a new show right now. It's Get Real America. Definitely conservative-based show, but they talk about a lot of things that they see. And I think they've got some great perspectives. You know, you've got younger generation Brittany Brown, and you also have older generation Bill Edwards. And the two of them make a great team in discussion and good back and forth between the two. So definitely check them out and give them your support and share them around. And if you can, share this video out and let's see what kind of numbers that we can get. And let me know in the comments below on this video, wherever you find it. Let me know what kind of things that you think I should change, what you would like to see. And, you know, let me know your opinions on these subjects that I'm talking about. I mean, it's Monday. I'm probably going to put out a few more episodes this week or next week. And I'll keep producing as long as people will have me. So I look forward to seeing you then. Good night.